I think for us, there are a variety of ways in which we decide what constitutes an Ismaili heritage site. And when we first began this project for the third time in some ways, there was version 3.0, which began in 2005. In 2015, I beg your pardon. One of the things that we really wanted to do was to try and have operational definitions for what we wanted to look at. And the first thing we wanted to look at was the extent to which we needed to identify and document sites of obvious historical significance to the community. The second one was sites of relevance to the modern Ismaili Jamaat. And then the third was around AKDN buildings and Imamat institutions. Now, our remit was to focus really on the first two. So in terms of the first one, sites of obvious historical relevance, these are essentially all of the Fatimid monuments, the stuff in Alamut and the Alamut periods, so for Iran and Syria especially. For category B, sites of relevance to the modern Ismaili community, these are sort of Ismaili centers, Jamaat khanas, cemeteries, those sorts of things. AKDN buildings and institutions we know very well, and we know the enormous amount of work that they do, and so because they are already managed in a particular way, there's less of an impetus and a mandate for us to be doing stuff. So we do look at them, but not as much. And then a fourth category, which has been a recent category that we've been thinking about, is one of patronage. To what extent have Ismailis members of the community or the Imamat, either personally or institutionally, have invested in particular projects or programs, right? So we have loads of examples where, for example, Sultan Mahmud Shah provided funds for the Gordon Memorial College in Khartoum, in Sudan, which became the University of Khartoum. You have examples, in other places of similar kinds of contributions being made. The Jamia Mosque in Nairobi, for example, was also the recipient of monies from Sultan Mahmud Shah. And so this is the fourth category that we are looking at. In terms of, so that's how we identify sites as whether we should be looking at them or not. In terms of how we then end up preserving them, so we have identified a site, now what do we do with it? This is something we are only now beginning to look at, because until we actually got a whole bunch of sites to identify and figure out what relevance they had to us, you couldn't really there were obvious ones that you could do, and we all know of them. But these are in the more sort of recent memory of the community. In terms of much older stuff, this is a problem we are now beginning to address much more closely. And so we are still developing criteria for it, and they're not sequential or linear criteria. We're looking really at things that Wafi already mentioned. Historical significance is one element of it. The second element we're looking at is the impact on the community, and not just the Ismaili community necessarily, the impact on the community where these sites are in terms of their quality of life. So that's also a factor for us. Because to preserve in a building sort of sense is not simply to preserve it and fossilize it. It's really to figure out a way in which that cultural asset can be used to jumpstart other kinds of flourishing. And again, whether that's economic, social, cultural, health, educational, all of those sorts of things. So that element of the impact on the quality of life of the communities that surround these sites is really, really important for us. And the other thing, of course, is context feasibility. We have to be able to work in environments that are enabling for these works to take place. So in an environment where that's not possible for whatever reason, then obviously we can't, because these are long-term, sometimes generational projects. We are in it always for the long term. And this goes back to the building idea I was talking about earlier. So I think those are the three we are currently trying to figure out a way of developing a matrix around them. And that's how we would try to preserve them. But we haven't started anything yet as such. There are a couple of projects in the pipeline which we can talk about another time.